Welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you're a second-year IT student in the Philippines, I really need you to listen up because this one is built specifically for you. Right now, I know your biggest worry might be, a missing semicolon completely breaking your entire code base just hours before a deadline. We've all been there. But today, we're going to step back and explore the real-world consequences your code actually has on society. Because as you step into the tech industry, you'll quickly realize that programming is about a whole lot more than just making machines execute commands. Ultimately, it's about people.
So before we really jump in, ask yourself this fundamental question. Is writing code purely about business and turning a profit? Or does the technology we create carry a deeper obligation to the real people who use it? Take a second to just kind of let that marinate in your mind, because how you answer that is going to define the exact kind of professional you become. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. Number 1, beyond the code. 2, the social impact of IT. 3, your professional ethical responsibilities. 4, ethical decision-making. And finally, number 5, real-world Philippine scenarios.
All right, let's dive into section 1, beyond the code.
Let's start by zooming out to look at the big picture of corporate social responsibility, or CSR, in the tech world. It's a buzzword you'll hear all the time, but what does it actually mean for an IT firm? Well, an IT company simply writing a check and donating money to a local charity is, well, it's charity. It's nice, don't get me wrong, but true CSR is fundamentally different. It's about how a company takes continuous responsibility for its core operations. It's about designing software to actually protect user data, ensuring digital accessibility, and treating gig workers fairly, day in and day out. It's about baking social responsibility directly into the source code and the business model itself. Moving right along to section 2, the social impact of IT.
We really have to examine the actual impact that tech organizations have on our daily lives right here in the Philippines. And the truth is, technology is absolutely a double-edged sword. On one hand, you have digital banking, e-wallets like GCash or Maya, and e-government portals. These are creating amazing opportunities for inclusion and efficiency, right? But right alongside those massive benefits, we are seeing some severe risks. If systems aren't built responsibly, they essentially kick the door wide open to massive data breaches, cyber extortion, and even worsening inequality through algorithmic bias. Your future work sits right on that razor's edge.
Now, I want you to think about the number 28%. In 2023, only 28% of Philippine households had fixed internet. That is a harsh reality that we call digital poverty. As future developers, it's so easy to just assume everyone has seamless, high-speed fiber access, right? But the actual data tells a very, very different story. As IT professionals, we have to keep in mind that building a service that requires high-speed internet might completely exclude millions of people. Over 18 million Filipinos simply cannot afford basic internet. Yet, at the exact same time, millions of unbanked citizens rely heavily on digital wallets to survive, and rural farmers are increasingly using SMS and really lightweight apps like eKadiwa to check market prices for their livelihoods. While laws like RA 1090-29, the Free Internet Access Act, aim to bridge this gap, digital inclusion is also on your shoulders as a developer. If we ignore this reality, we're inadvertently widening the poverty gap through our code. Let's zoom in a bit closer for section 3, professional ethical responsibilities.
We've talked about what companies should do, but what about your individual role? What is expected of you specifically as a computing professional? The crucial point here is that being a professional doesn't just mean you can pump out elegant, bug-free code. It means you understand the incredible weight of the access you hold. Think about it. You might have access to sensitive student grades, medical histories, or someone's entire financial record. But always remember this rule. Access does not equal authorization. Your technical competence absolutely has to be matched by a deep respect for privacy and personal accountability. To help guide you through this, the Philippine Computer Society explicitly lays out these exact tenets in their Code of Ethics. They mandate that you prioritize the public good, protect user privacy, reject software piracy, and, this is a big one, absolutely refuse to build tools intended for deceit or fraud. If you ever see serious problems, you report them. This code of ethics, it's literally your professional compass. You're going to need to rely heavily on this when things inevitably get complicated on the job. And hey, if you're sitting there thinking these are just abstract, theoretical concepts you only hear about in a university lecture, they aren't.
Research from De La Salle University, which surveyed companies right in Metro Manila, found that unauthorized access and software copyright violations, piracy basically, are the most common computer crimes and ethical breaches encountered locally. This isn't science fiction, this is the reality of the industry you're about to enter.
So, how do we actually handle these issues? Let's look at Section 4, Ethical Decision Making. When you are faced with a tough call, this 7-step framework is going to be your best friend. Ethical problems in the real world rarely look like a simple good versus evil comic book scenario. Usually, it's a messy clash between two competing goods, like user convenience versus data security. This 7-step process helps you take a breath, move past your gut reactions, and logically map out a defensible ethical choice. You recognize the issue, gather the facts, identify who is actually impacted, the stakeholders, and then carefully weigh who gets helped and who might get harmed before you decide and reflect.
Now, we also have to layer the law over this ethical framework. It is absolutely crucial to understand that in the Philippines, failing to secure an app or recklessly scraping user data, it isn't just a minor ethical oopsie. It can be a direct criminal violation of RA 1173, the Data Privacy Act, or RA 1175, the Cybercrime Prevention Act. Your ethical decisions have very real, very strict legal boundaries.
Okay, let's bring it all together in our final section, Part 5, Real-World Philippine Scenarios.
We're going to test our framework against situations you might actually face working as a developer. Imagine you are the lead developer for a new university scholarship portal. It's crunch time. You find a major security flaw just one day before launch that exposes family income and student grades. But your boss says, launch it anyway. Don't tell the client, we'll just patch it later. You are holding highly sensitive academic and financial data of thousands of students in your hands. A breach could devastate them, but delaying the launch, that's going to furious your boss and the client.
So what do? Stay silent? Try to fix it secretly overnight? Report it? Resign? Take a second and honestly think about what you would do in that exact room. It's super easy to pick the correct answer on a multiple choice test, but in real life, standing up to your boss is incredibly intimidating. But you have to remember, just because an action is easy, like staying silent, certainly doesn't mean it's right.
If we apply our 7-step framework, we can clearly identify the stakeholders: the university, the government, your company, and most importantly, the students who carry the highest risk here. Legally and ethically, launching that vulnerable system is just totally unacceptable. It violates the Data Privacy Act, and the potential harm to those students far outweighs the headache of a delayed launch. The responsible action is to generate options. Maybe you suggest a temporary mitigation or a phased rollout, but you absolutely have to formally escalate and document the risk.
Okay, here's another one. Let's say you're building a free e-wallet app specifically aimed at local delivery riders and online freelancers, the gig economy. To monetize the app, it secretly scrapes massive amounts of personal data, locations, contacts, even photos. Your managers argue, hey, this is perfectly fine and legal because the user technically clicked I agree on that 50-page terms and conditions document that we know they didn't read. This is exactly where your professional judgment has to kick in. Is something ethical just because someone technically clicked a button? As an IT professional, you have to recognize the power dynamics here. Extracting excessive data from gig workers who desperately need your app just to survive and earn an income, that's an abuse of power. Just because the consent is buried in page 42 of the fine print doesn't magically make the action ethical. True professionalism means respecting the user's rights over the company's hunger for data. I want to leave you with this final, powerful thought as you continue your IT studies and eventually head into your careers. Your technical skills are going to give you immense power to shape society in the Philippines. You are going to be able to build absolutely incredible things. But your ethical compass, your ability to hit pause and truly evaluate the impact of your work is what actually makes you a professional. So the next time you sit down to write a piece of software, ask yourself, just because you can build it, does that really mean you should? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning and code responsibly.